And I remember a few years ago we opened this bridge, but I also know it's been a really long-standing campaign, particularly involving Keith and the Community Rail Partnership and the family of Jonn Axon and Lord Peter Henley to get this renamed as the Driver Jonn Axon Bridge. So I'm very pleased to be doing that here today. We have, as I said, Keith, and we have the family of Jonn Axon, we have Lord Peter Henley, and we have Danielle here today from Network Rail. So we've got a good spread of people to come and celebrate the life of Jonn Axon. I think now hero is used quite frequently, and it's but I actually think that Jonn Axon was a hero in the strictest sense of the term, and he's a representation of all the best values of Stockport, and he gave his life to save others, and I think it's only right that he has something in the town to remember him from here onwards. So I'd like maybe Keith to go into a little bit more detail.
Right. Thanks very much, Grace. Lord Henley, Mr Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, Grace, it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. This has been quite a long process. When we originally were talking about something to honour Jonn Axon, it wasn't actually a bridge we were talking about, but the roadway at the back of the station. And then we felt the bridge would be more significant. A few issues with Network Rail, people sorted out, and here we are today. So if I just start by saying, Jonn Axon was a railway man, to steam trains born and bred. He was an engine driver at Edgeley Loco Shed. That is the opening to the ballad of Jonn Axon that was written by Ewan McCall, further of course of Kirsty, famous for Christmas songs, and Peggy Seeger, who was the manager of that broadcast back in 1958. And actually that's the last time that we were in Stockport in 2018 with Melanie and Andrew, to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the broadcast of the ballad of Jonn Axon, and we had a great occasion in the town hall. It's a bit scary to think it's only 3 years off now, the 70th anniversary of that BBC production. And of course we're here to honour driver Jonn Axon, and it was on the 7th of February 1957 when he was killed driving, for those who are railway buffs, an 8F steam locomotive freight engine, and avoided a more serious crash than the actual crash at Roseley. And he stayed on the footplate right to the end. Ron Scanlon, his fireman, he pushed Ron off the side of the locomotive, and he was saved, but the guard of the freight train and Jonn of course were killed. And Jonn was very much a Stockport man and an Edgeley man as well. So it's absolutely right and appropriate that we commemorate his life here in Edgeley. There has been a close relationship also. If you've been around the corner and look at the murals on the wall from the station, one of those actually is Bahamas, a Stockport Edgeley locomotive that was here at the end of steam. Great big farewell to Stockport Edgeley with Flying Scotsman, Oliver Cromwell and Bahamas all together. And it's so appropriate, I think, we're commemorating Jonn Axon today, just 3 days after the 200th anniversary of railways. Now, that's what they say in the northeast. Of course, we here say that the real bicentennial of railways was in 1830, which was the opening of the Liverpool-Manchester Railway with the rocket steam locomotive. And already plans and preparations are starting. The launch of Rocket All Aboard was actually just 10 days ago at the Museum of Science and Industry. And that's going to be a good event. Peter with his NRM hat on, as well as minister has to make sure that the rocket is available for that event. It's agreed the rocket itself will come, but the replica goes out of ticket on the 1st of January 2029. So we need to make sure it's back in ticket for that event. So we're really here at a great centre for railways and rail that we're going on at the moment here. And I'm absolutely delighted that we're able to gather for this very, very special occasion today. And I'm going to ask Lord Henry, would you like to say a few words?
I would. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Thank you very much. And thank you all for the invitation. And it's a privilege to meet Melanie and Andrew. If I can get through this speech without my voice cracking really very well. And the reason why my voice might crack is that Jonn Axon was a brother, as Keith has said. He spent 35 years on the railway, as people did. He rose from cleaner to fireman as a driver, and as Keith has said, in February 1957, his courage and decisive action saved his fireman's life and saved many other people's lives as well. The extraordinary thing about Jonn Axon was that he was a brave individual, but he represented tens of thousands of railway people who were also brave individuals, who didn't have to give their lives, but did often very dangerous and dirty work in those days. And one of the reasons to celebrate him is not only his own personal sacrifice, but to remember the sacrifice of all the rest of that generation and previous generations of railway people who worked on the railway, which was far more profoundly unsafe than the one that we've got today. And of course, as Keith has said, the immortalisation of his actions in the radio ballad, it's still a very moving. I can't talk about it without a frog in my throat because it's such a moving piece of radio. And of course, the other really significant part of that radio ballad is it was almost the first occasion in which regional accents were heard on the BBC. The BBC up until late in the 50s was BBC English, and you know, the vision of Halvar Liddell reading the news in his dinner jacket in the basement of the broadcasting house whilst the bombs were falling. And the BBC never thought to have regional accents or voices that represented people. But the ballad of Jonn Axon is wholly narrated virtually by his workmates from Stockport, which is extraordinary. So this plaque, which is great, and the name of the bridge stands alongside the chapel in front, which is the sunrise greatest deed. And for me and all other workers, his name symbolises a huge vocational commitment of the railway. Still makes today, unfortunately, in unsafer circumstances, and his name deserves to be remembered. Of course, he was awarded the George Cross, which is an extraordinary accolade for somebody who, I'm sure, even at the moment of his death, thought he was just doing his job. So we salute him as a true railway hero. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do this, but it is very moving. So his name will live in our memories and in the story of Britain's great railway forever. Thank you, Jonn Axon, GC.
That was very, very moving, I'm going to say, Peter. And it is, if you've not heard the ballad, you really need to listen to it. It's an extraordinary piece of work. And there's some young lads who were actually just on the station at the end who were in the broadcast talking about them taking locomotive numbers down. One of those is the curator for the Bahamas Locomotive Society this day and age, now in 74, so it moves on. But I'm absolutely delighted that we have Network Rail with us, and I was going to say Daniel Webb, but it's Daniel Lacken these days, of course. Daniel L, please.
Yes.
We're very grateful
Hello
for you.
everyone, hello. I'll try and say something that hasn't already been said before, but it's an absolute privilege to stand here today alongside, obviously, Peter Hendy, members of the Community Rail Partnership and the family and friends of Jonn Axon to mark this very special occasion, the official renaming of this footbridge in his honour. This ceremony has been a long time in the making, as we've both alluded to, and I'm sure I'll see some nodding heads when I say that there were moments when it seemed like it would never take place at all. It has been a difficult journey, but thanks to the persistence and the passion of the Community Rail Partnerships and the local councillors, the family, and obviously Lord Peter himself, during your time at Network Rail, we were here today to celebrate not just a name on a plaque, but a legacy that deserves to be remembered. Naming this bridge after Jonn is more than a tribute to his heroic decision to stay at the controls on that fateful day. It's a symbol of the values we hold dear in the railway community: service, courage, and putting others first. It's also a way to connect the past with the present, reminding us that the railway is not just about infrastructure or timetables, it's about people like Jonn who gave everything. I'd like to thank the Community Rail Partnership for their tireless work, not only in securing the renaming, but in installing the plaques and the beautiful artwork that now adorns the footbridge. These additions have transformed it into a place of meaning and memory, and I know that they'll be appreciated by everyone who passes through. To John's family, who still live here today, thank you for sharing your story with us. Sorry. It's emotional, isn't it? His legacy will now live on in a very visible way, right here in the heart of the community where it belongs.
Danielle, and we are very grateful for the work that you personally did with all those difficulties that we were having as to who to talk to at Network Rail to get a decision. And we got there, and of course we went to the head, of course, at the end of the day, and it was sorted quite easily. Last but not least by any means at all, Melanie and Andrew, we've known each other for quite a few years, I would say, now. Sometimes I've let Andrew actually left you where I lived with Christmas light switch on in the past, but Melanie, we've been absolutely delighted you to say just a few words.
It's not as lengthy as anybody else's, but firstly, Andrew and I would like to express our sincere gratitude to everyone that supported this decision of the naming of this bridge in honour of our grandfather. Thank you to Keith, you've kept us informed all along the way and fought that battle, so thank you very much for that. Jonn was born in Stockport and lived in Edgeley and spent his entire life in the area. He married and raised his family there, and his work on the railway took him to routes similar to the one that we're walking on now, every day as he went to work. Standing on that footplate on that tragic day, demonstrating his remarkable bravery, standing on the footplate, doing the brakes, doing what he could with them to get them to work, alerting the station below while surrounded by the searing steam. As the train crashed and he was trapped in that wreckage, his final thoughts were undoubtedly, did I do enough? Have I done enough? The answer is unequivocally yes. His courage continues to be remembered and honoured, and the legacy of his bravery will endure through recognitions such as the Jonn Axon Bridge, which serves as both a tribute and a conversation starter for local.
It's an absolute privilege to stand here today alongside the Minister of State, members of the Community Rail Partnership and the family and friends of Jonn Axon to mark this very special occasion, the official renaming of the footbridge in his honour. This
This ceremony has been a long time in the making, and I'm sure I'll see some nodding heads here when I say that there were moments when it seemed like it might not happen at all. But thanks to the persistence and the passion of the Community Rail Partnership, local councillors, and with the support of Baron Hendy during his time at Network Rail, we are here today to celebrate not just a name on a plaque, but a legacy that deserves to be remembered. Naming the bridge after Jonn is more than a tribute to his heroic decision to stay on the controls on that fateful day. It's a symbol of the values we hold dear in the railway community: service, courage, and putting others first. It's also a way to connect the past with the present, reminding us that the railway is not just about infrastructure or timetables, it's about people like Jonn who gave everything. I'd like to thank the Community Rail Partnerships for their tireless work, not only in securing this renaming, but in installing the plaques and the beautiful artwork that now adorns the footbridge. These additions have transformed it into a place of meaning and memory, and I know that they will be appreciated by everyone who passes through. To Jonn's family, who still live here in Edgeley, thank you for sharing his story with us. His legacy will now live on in a very visual way right here in the heart of the community he came from.